Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Woolly Wonka Fibers podcast. My name is Anne, and this is a video podcast about my indie dye and design business, my knitting, my spinning, some other crafty bits. Today is Monday, June 26th, 2017. It is my mom's birthday today, so happy birthday to her. I don't think she watches this, but maybe if she does, happy birthday, Mom. Talked to her yesterday, she and my dad, doing good, getting settled into their place in Baltimore. Let's see. Just a few sort of administrative notes I wanted to get out of the way here up front. The first of which is if you have been to the Ravelry Woolly Wonka Fibers group in the last week or so, there's a quick note in there. Just wanted to let everybody know that Jen, who is Tiny Dancer Knits, has graciously agreed to help myself and Toby of Toby Knits out with administrative duties there. So if you see her around, say hello. She's awfully nice. I'm sure she is happy to help if there are questions or y'all need something in the group and I'm not around. Both she and Toby are very familiar with my products and patterns, and our group is so great. I don't really have a lot of conflict or crises or anything like that. But if something were to arise and I was not available, please feel free to grab either one of them. The moderator information is listed at the bottom of the homepage of that group. So there's that. Also wanted to just make everybody aware again, my next show is going to be in Salida, Colorado. It's the Salida Fiber Festival. It's the second weekend in September, which is September 9th and 10th. It's a Saturday and Sunday. Salida is a great little town if you are anywhere in the Denver area, kind of southern Colorado, northern New Mexico. It's a really fun show, so would encourage you to come out and visit. It's always a good time in the park. Lots of places to go out to eat. There's a yarn store in town. Lots of like thrift stores, antique stores. If your significant other likes to fish, the Arkansas River runs right through there. Jeep tours. You can go hiking in the mountains. You can pop up to St. Elmo, which is a mining ghost town. That's a really cool day trip if you're coming for the weekend. So I will have my booth there. The usual and customary items, patterns, knit yarn, maybe some handspun, maybe some roving, good stuff. So I think that's it for admin stuff. Let's talk about my knitting. So I have finished one project for the Fall Filament magazine, completely done, ready to go. The other three are in process, two of which are probably at the 3/4 finished mark, somewhere between 2/3 and 3/4, and the other of which is at about the halfway mark. So working on those, just chipping away at them, you know. You can look for those. I believe we're planning on releasing that issue September 1st or thereabouts. Drinking a really awesome summer tea today called Lady Londonderry if you like flavored black teas. It's black tea, lemon peel, strawberry bits, very floral, would make a great iced tea, although I'm drinking mine hot like I usually do. Just enjoying that one. New Mexico Tea Company. So that is kind of where I am in secret knitting projects. Just to let you all know, there's going to be a bunch of changes happening in 2018, one of which will be less designing on my part. So I'm hoping for actually some knitting that I can occasionally share with you all, other than to say, hi, finished thing, already done. If I can get through this last kind of big push with this set of designs, I may, Emma, don't, no. Helper Kitty. I may wind up putting some socks on the needles just to have a little mindless project for like travel project kind of things, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I do have a finished object to share with you guys. It's a pair of socks. And this is a little sneak peek for the folks who are in the Herbarium Club for the texture and color kits. This will be headed out to you in just a couple of days at the end of the week. The pattern will go live on Friday. My plan is to ship packages on Thursday, so you should have it in time for the 4th of July holiday if you're here in the States. So these are the Wild Cherry socks. They are worked in my barrel sock yarn, which is the US made Targhee, superwash Targhee nylon. It's a 90-10 combination. And that color is getting a little washed out today. Let's see if I can get that closer. And gratuitous cat helper shots. It's a really dark, that's much closer. It's a really dark purpley plum color, kind of black cherry color, which is what I've named it. So the socks are knit from the toe up. They have a short row heel. The back is just ribbing, plain ribbing. The front has a bobble texture pattern on it, which I don't think is showing very well on the sock blockers. Let's see if I can make it happen. That's better. It's 3 little cherries and the stems, and then there's a cable pattern that surrounds that motif that runs up the front of the sock. So the back is just a rib. So all the club folks, you get to see your project a few days early. Again, those will be shipping out. The yarn for that will ship out Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday, probably Thursday. Pattern will release on Ravelry on Friday, and I will put an updated link to it in the down notes below so that other folks can find it if you're so interested. So those are done. Let's go on to spinning. I finished up the spin that I was doing of the FatCatKnits. It's a 75-25 blend of Blueface Leicester and Silk. It's one of my favorite blends to spin. You may remember there were 2 different colorways of the roving. This was from Ginny's Club. It was actually marked autumn 2011, but I think it arrived like December 1st. I don't remember how that worked out. Anyway, it's been in stash for 6 years. There were 2 2.5 ounce braids of the fiber. There was kind of a turquoise blue and purple jewel tone, and then there was the other colorway was kind of a ruby red and tangerine and golden yellow. So those were the two colorways, and this was for her Mixed Blessings Club. They didn't have specific names. I had originally thought maybe I would spin each of the colorways up, keeping them completely separate, but I decided to go ahead and spin up the singles for each colorway and then just ply the 2 of them in a 2-ply, and I am so happy with this yarn. I think the colorway is gorgeous. It is a whole bunch of sort of stained glass colors. I split the braids into long, skinny strips and then spun the singles and then plied them together. So this is 547 yards, and it wound up being about 4.8 ounces when I finished it up. So it's firmly in the fingering weight category. I love how the turquoise reads in that. I think it's gorgeous. My light is really funky today. We've got odd clouds. Anyway, so that is done. Out of stash for fiber, into stash for yarn. No specific plans for it. I am toying around with using it as a sort of background color and then using like a really dark purple or a really dark soot gray or black and doing something stained glass-ish with it, but I haven't decided what that is. So it'll go in stash, it'll marinate, it'll wait for me till I get there. So coming up, starting Saturday this weekend, July 1st, is the first day of the 2017 Tour de Fleece, which I'm going to be participating in. Again, we have a group on Ravelry. If you spin, would love to have you come and join us there. Very casual. Spin whatever you want, as long as you spin. So the tour runs the 1st through the 23rd of July this year. It's a little bit earlier than it has been some years. And this year I've decided that I'm going to, not do my usual crazy, hey, I'm going to spin 2 pounds kind of thing. I'm just going to spin a half hour a day. If I have time and can do a little bit more, great. If I don't, that's okay too. Just going to shoot for half an hour a day and make some progress. Excuse me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Sorry. Snuck up on me. So I went stash diving this weekend. Once I got this braid off of my wheel, I decided I was going to kind of strip the wheel down. That's on my task list for tomorrow. I'm going to, clean everything. I've got a woolly winder on that wheel. It's my handspun. So I want to make sure there's no fuzz and stuff in that. Just give it a nice clean, see if anything needs to be lubricated, check my brake band, all that good stuff. So it'll be ready to go for the first. The first thing I pulled out of stash, and I'm just pulling these randomly. I open a bin and I stick my hand in it without looking, and I pull out something, and whatever it is what I'm going to spin, and that's what I'm going to do over the course of the 23 days of the tour. So the first thing that I pulled out is a 2F by hand fiber. It is Superwash Merino. The colorway is Pirate Jenny. And it's a gradient dye, so it's got kind of bright gold, charcoal. This is hard to see in this light, but it's a chestnut brown and then a bright red. So I think what I'm going to do is, I don't think I would want a shawl from this. I think the colors are too disparate for me. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it in half lengthwise. So half of each. So there'll be 2 ounces of each color sequence. And then split each of those in half and do a 2-ply sock yarn out of it. Nice and squishy. I love the 2F by hand colorways, and so this will be fun to do. I think that's a better representation of it. Yeah. I don't think I'm going to do a chain ply with it. I don't always like how Superwash Merino chain plies, although I know obviously it keeps the colors nice and distinct, but I think I'll just do a little fiber manipulation and make that work. Let's see. On to books. Shall we talk about what I'm reading next? So I am working on a book for the 2017 Reading Challenge. One of the prompts was to pick a book written by a person of color. And so the book that I've selected is called The Underground Railroad, and the author is named Colson Whitehead. This was a New York Times bestseller, and I believe was also on Oprah. It was like one of her book recommendations, or Oprah's book club. I don't know if she's still doing that, but it was in that group. So as you might guess, it's about the Underground Railroad here in the United States, moving escaped slaves from south to north. And the main character's name is Cora, and the book starts with her as she's a slave on a plantation in Georgia, and it gives a little bit of her family history, and then moves us to the present time in Cora's life going forward. So she and another slave from the plantation escape, and they use the Underground Railroad to move further north. And so they make it to South Carolina, and then they are there for a bit. I'm halfway through the book, so it has not come to a conclusion. I can't tell you how it ends. I won't tell you how it ends in case you want to read it. It's an interesting premise. The author has decided to create the fiction that the Underground Railroad is actually a railroad. So when they go from point to point on the station, they actually get on a train. They ride on train tracks in like a boxcar or a flatbed of a train. I'm not totally sold on this. It's odd to me. It's like enough of a fiction in a book that's supposed to be very real that I am having a little trouble wrapping my head around how the author wants to really use this metaphor to advance the story. I think I had mentioned in a blog post about it when I first started it. This is not a book for kids. This definitely not. There is a lot of violence in it, and it's pretty graphic. I don't know that it's a book for some adults. I think there's probably people who it's a little too gritty for them. That doesn't normally bother me. It was a fact of the times, so it's kind of hard to write a book about how awful conditions were for people who were enslaved without going into some of the details of it, but we'll see. I will also say that, I understand not everybody necessarily comes from a history background, and I think that's totally fine because everybody's interested in different things. This book, I think, assumes that the reader knows nothing, was completely unaware of the cotton industry and how that how the growing of cotton influenced what happened to the enslaved African American population in either southern states where the cotton was actually grown and milled, or how it influenced the economy in states in the north where they were using the cotton to create a finished product like clothing. So there's some parts of it. I'm smack dab in the middle of the book, and our heroine is currently in North Carolina in a safe house, which is not a very safe house. The town that she's wound up in is kind of full of unrest, and there's vigilantes and stuff like that. And I understand also that the point of this book is that there were periods of time where these folks were moving where it wasn't some mad crazy dash through the swamps. It was them having to sit and wait and stay hidden. I totally understand that, and I understand how monotonous that must have been and how awful to be in the same kind of position as like Anne Frank, where they're hiding and they can't make any noise and they can't be up in the daytime, and just basic things like being able to go to the bathroom or take a shower you couldn't do, just didn't. It wasn't even something that they could have gotten accomplished. So I get that, but interspersed within this chapter is a whole bunch of like repetitious information about the cotton industry. So it's already kind of a boring point in the book because there is no action, nothing is progressing. She is sitting in a safe house in the attic indeterminately. I would have been fine with understanding why we were creating sort of a boring, tedious feeling to the writing at this point, but I don't think that you need to then throw in more boring, tedious points about the cotton industry. I think he's going to lose people. I'm sticking with it because I'm that way, but let's just say I'm moving quickly through those pages, not doing a whole lot of focused reading on those. take that as you will. I will let you know how the book turns out. I'm hoping that it kind of picks up. I'd like to get finished it this week so it can go back to the library. Then I have also joined a new group on Goodreads called A Stitcher's Book Club, and it's a much smaller group than the 52 Books in 52 Weeks reading challenge, but they also have challenges and they have bi-monthly book suggestions. And so for July and August, the selection was to read either Pride and Prejudice or My Cousin Rachel. And I decided I wanted to reread Pride and Prejudice because I was looking for an audiobook that I could listen to while I knit like crazy on my deadline projects. So I found a wonderful rendition of it from our library, you know, got the audiobook to listen to for free. So I'll be starting that to read the end of this week. It's not a super long book, so I don't think it'll take, you know, a long time to have it be read to me. And I have read it in print before, but I'm excited to have the audiobook version because I think the telling of it is part of the fun. An enjoyable read. So I'm also going to be reading that, kind of a double dip. I'll be reading that for the Stitchers Book Club July-August selection, and I'm also reading it for 52 Books in 52 Weeks. I can't remember the week number, but it's one of the books on the BBC's big list of recommended books that you should read at least once in your lifetime. So I'm looking forward to that. It's been a long time since I've reread any of the Jane Austen stories. So we'll put that on my list for fun things. I think that's it this week. I don't have really a lot of stitching to show you guys. I've been working on my knitting. You certainly can go over and catch other things I'm working on in my separate floss tube videos if you're more interested in the stitching. But this gets us to about 22 minutes anyway, which I think is plenty of time for me to yammer on and talk about fibery things. So I hope until I talk to you guys again, which will be 2 more weeks, and will take us past the 4th of July holiday here in the States into mid-July. I can't believe I'm saying that. I hope everybody has a wonderful 2 weeks, has some time to enjoy some crafting, and certainly enjoy the holiday on the 4th if you're here in the United States. Wherever you are, enjoy your next couple of weeks, and I will talk to you guys then. See ya.